Hello, you're watching ForestFanTV. Stephen here, and I've got Rish from 1865 alongside me. Stuart Pearce, our manager, has come under pressure from some sections of the Forest support recently, following a run of 2 wins from 20 games. Now, in footballing terms, it's simply not good enough, and it's an alarming slide in form. There's been a few rumours that Pearce might be going, but in your opinion, Rish, would you keep him or would you let him go?
I think there's 2 things. I heard David Marple's fellow Forest blogger on Radio Nottingham. He made an excellent point. People seem to want one of 2 diametrically opposed things. On the one hand, you've got stability. On the other hand, you've got results. At the moment, they're 2 ends of the spectrum. With time, I don't see why we can't have both. So, if you think, should we keep the manager? Yeah, my answer is yes.
You touched on it there with the 2 ends of that scale. The results, as we've said, they're not up to scratch at the moment. But is it more than the results at the moment, which is important? I think there's more to Pearce's job than just getting the results. I think the club needs rebuilding. Yeah. The structure needs to be put back in place, and I think he had to take that on in the summer as well as
via the 1865 Twitter account at Nottingham_Forest. I was having a bit of a debate, and I was making the point that I think the stuff that happens on the pitch is probably maybe 25% of Stuart's job. It's been well documented. In fact, there's an Evening Post again in the last couple of days about the club had no structure, no chief exec, no academy. Well, it had an academy, but was feeling far from involved with the club. Yeah. And Gary Brazil did the first stages of integrating the academy back into the club. Stuart's done a lot of work there. He's shown that, whether through necessity or otherwise, he's willing to give the young players a chance. So that's something that I think is really positive. I don't think you can necessarily take the chance of dismantling all of that work, because it inevitably does when you change management.
Do you think it's a bit short-sighted for people to want to get rid of Pearce already? I mean, he's had less than 6 months in the job, and that's no real time for any manager to stamp his mark.
It's funny how people always refer back to Brian Clough's first season, because football's such a different game now to what it was then, and it's just expectation. We've got a generation of Forest fans who've never seen the club play in the top flight, and a generation of Forest fans who've been brought up on thinking that managers' shelf lives, not just at Forest but in football in general, is 6 months to a year if you're lucky. Okay, and I think that you look at Leicester. Okay, they bucked the trend. Everyone was expecting Pearson to go, probably Nigel Pearson himself. They gave him another season. They're in the Premier League. Are they going to go down? Time will tell. But I think they're making a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, this whole idea of stability and giving managers more time in the job, that's something we haven't done for many years, probably since Frank Clark. I think he was the last one to last more than 3 years as manager. You're talking 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
With that.
So one of the definitions of insanity is you keep just doing stuff the same and expecting a different outcome. We've been chopping and changing for over 15 years, and have we even come within a whisker of the Premier League? Not really.
Yeah, at the time of recording, Forest have won only 2 of their last 20 games in all competitions. We go to Derby on Saturday. Do you think this is the perfect result or the perfect game for Pearce to get a result in to turn the season around? Or is it, I can just see it being a nightmare. If we were to lose and he was to lose his job, you have all the Derby fans gloating, and it'd be awful to see him leave in that sort of circumstance.
Well, with regards to the match itself, I would say that, again, we've got 2 ends of a spectrum. It's either going to be total glee if we buck the trend and get a win, or it's going to be total nightmare if we lose, or if we lose badly. Now, that's obvious, okay? With regard to pressure, there's more pressure on this match than there would be on other matches, particularly with regard to, all the media reports and what fans are saying and so on. However, because it's not a normal match, if ever there's an opportunity for the management and most importantly the players to say, you know what lads, this means something, then it was this weekend.
In terms of the support that Pearce has got from the fans, that seems to be unwavering. The vast majority of Forest fans are behind him. You only need to look at the Sheffield Wednesday game on Saturday. 3rd minute, they were all chanting psycho and getting behind him, which is brilliant to see. It's not often that we've been able to do that with a manager, to give him...
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think that is a really positive sign. However, you know, the trouble with modern life now is if you're in a vocal minority, it's very easy to get yourself heard. Let's not, you know, obviously you've got the relatively new phenomenon of keyboard warriors on social media. You've got people who phone into radio phone-ins, and the trouble is, who are the representative sample? Now, the fact that you had the vast majority of fans in the ground on Saturday chanting for Psycho, that tells a story. But again, who are the representative sample? I personally think that the majority of Forest fans want to see Stuart do well, partly out of sentiment, let's be honest, but partly also because if he's doing well, that means the club are doing well and we're fed up of the instability.
Well, that's where I'm sitting at the moment. I just want to see somebody given 2 or 3 years in the job to see what he can do to build a team over that time, put solid foundations in place. Why not let that man be Stuart Pearce? Because there's no one more determined to make this club a success than him. There's no questioning his loyalty and his love for the club. And for that reason, I would keep him in the job.
Well, yeah, and people make a lot about his previous managerial record. Actually, when you look at it in the context of what he was doing, it wasn't bad. Okay, yeah. Man City were a club falling apart at the seams when he was the manager, so I think that short of getting, you know, Carlo Ancelotti in to manage them, then they would have struggled. The England under-21s, on the whole, he did a very good job, and again, a lot of the good work he did was off the pitch in terms of liaising with clubs about player availability, and where the under-21s didn't do well, it's because he didn't have his best players available, including a certain Henry Lansbury. Yeah,
people have been using this argument all week to say that Pearce can't turn around a bad situation, or he starts well and falls away. At Man City, they were a club in limbo towards the end of his career there because there was expected investment coming in, big investment from overseas, and he was sort of holding the fort, if you like, until somebody came in, a new manager and a new owner. And like you say with England, let's not forget how well he did with the under-21s, at first taking them to semi-finals and finals of European Championships. He achieved something there. It was only in that final tournament where a lot of the senior players were shipped off.
Absolutely. And you know, so you could argue that those are structural faults in the England setup that mean that an England under-21 manager is destined to maybe not fail, but is going to find it a struggle to succeed.
Yeah, but his hands were tied, weren't they, to a certain degree? Yeah.
I mean, I would say, so going back to the point, does Stuart deserve time? Yes. Does the club need stability? I'd say yes. Encouraging signs. We've got a chief exec who's come from a football background, okay, who's at Aston Villa, and he knows about how to run a football club at a high level. Other thing, John McGovern, by having the ear of Fawaz, that may well do a lot to preserve Stuart's job. I mean, finally, the other thing I would say about the whole off-pitch setup is, again, as much as it might be painful for some supporters, I'm very pragmatic about this. Steve McLaren being the manager at Derby is just the icing on the cake in terms of what he's doing on the pitch. Yeah. Because they've spent the last probably 5 years since Nigel Clough got the job of building up slowly off the pitch, the academy, their stadium, their facilities, offers for fans, creating an infrastructure, which means that players want to go there, and then they get a manager who potentially has the capability to take them into the Premier League, and to me that's the icing on the cake. It's very easy to look at the manager's on-pitch performance as being the be-all and end-all. I, for one, would rather see, you know, Stuart Pearce managing Forest in the Championship than, as it said in The Guardian, you know, Jose managing Forest in the Premier League, because for me football is about culture, it's about doing things the right way, and that's the football I was brought up on as a child of Clough.
Yeah, I think that's a Forest way. I think it was a model which I think we abandoned when we got rid of Sean O'Driscoll after 6 months, and I would like to see somebody given a chance, that man being Pearce, 3 or 4 years, like you say, to build the club up and put solid foundations in place, which I think in the future will make us a better team and will mean that when we do eventually get to the Premier League, we've got a greater chance of staying there. What do you think about the Pearce situation? Do you think he should stay? Do you think he should go? We want to hear your thoughts, so get in touch with us at ForestFanTV on Twitter and leave your comments in the section below. Until next time, from me and from Rish, goodbye.